This is yin. And these are conversations about discipline, direction, and identity, and how they quietly shape who you become. I want to be very open about today's conversation. I'm going to be walking a tightrope. I've talked about many things through this podcast: discipline, silence, about building without applause, and doing the work when nobody's watching. But I've never talked about this. And the honest reason I haven't is the same reason you might already have your finger on the skip button. You see, faith is personal, and personal is uncomfortable. And when my business partner and I were building our company, we hit a wall that discipline couldn't break through. And I'd be doing you a disservice if I kept what happened next to myself. So I'm going to do this episode. And I'm going to ask that you come along with me on this journey. And if you don't want to, that's perfectly fine. As I've always said, yin isn't for everyone. You've been doing the work, the early mornings, the late nights, showing up when nobody's watching, building in silence the way you're supposed to. And the discipline is real. Don't let anybody take that away from you. But there's something that nobody talks about. Discipline has a ceiling. There are moments in life that the system was never built for. Moments where the alarm goes off and you just lie there. Not because you're lazy, not because you quit, but because something happened that your process doesn't have an answer for. A relationship that fell apart, a business that isn't working, a loss you didn't see coming, a version of your life that just stopped making sense. And you're just sitting there with all this discipline, all this structure, all this willpower, and none of it is enough to move you. So you start questioning everything. Why am I doing this? Is any of this worth it? What am I actually building towards? And those questions will eat you alive if you don't have something to stand on, something that doesn't move when everything else does. You see, that's not weakness. That's the moment when discipline runs out. So something else has to take over. And that something else is faith. And before you put this in a box, hear me out, because faith doesn't just have one face. For some of you, it's belief in a higher power, something greater than yourself that is guiding your path. For some of you, it's belief in what you're building, the deep knowing that what you have is real, that it's worth the sacrifice, that it's worth the dark mornings. Both are facets of faith, and both will carry you when nothing else will. I know this because I've lived it. There was a moment in my life when it looked like everything was going to fall apart. What happened next changed the way I understood faith forever. When we were building our company, there was a point. We were out of money, no investors, no safety net. We didn't know what we were going to do to pay our drivers. We were fucked in every sense of the word. And not the kind of fucked where you hustle your way out by morning, the kind where you've already done everything that you know how to do and it still isn't enough. But here's what I need you to understand. Every single day, we woke up and we kept moving. Not because the numbers made sense, not because someone told us it was going to be okay. We kept moving because we believed in what we were building. Even when we watched the funds dry up, even when the conversations got hard, even when the logic said stop, something in us just knew what we had was real. That was the first lane of faith. Faith in what we were building. And then something else happened. A few days later, a check showed up. $10,000, a check that wasn't supposed to be there for another 45 days. No explanation. It was just there. And in that moment, something else opened up because we hadn't just been believing in what we were building. Something bigger had been believing in us. Something was watching. Something was pushing us forward. Even when we couldn't see the road ahead, something else could see it for us. I can't tell you what the conversation was like between Bronson and myself, because I don't think there was one. Some things are just too heavy for words. We just exhaled. Two men, same silence, same relief. Both lanes of faith in that same moment. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you what faith is. That's not my place. But I can tell you what it does, because I've lived it. Faith gives you something discipline cannot. It gives you the ability to keep moving when all the evidence says you should stop, when the path is unclear, when the numbers don't work, when the people around you begin questioning what you're doing, and when you start questioning it yourself. Faith is what keeps you moving, not because you know exactly how things will unfold, but because you believe the destination is still worth pursuing. And faith is not passive. It does not sit back and wait for certainty. It moves. It gets you out of bed when motivation is gone. It makes the difficult call. It sends the email. It keeps showing up quietly and consistently, even while the outcome remains uncertain. Hope waits for things to improve. Faith keeps working until they do. I want to make this very clear. I'm not here to force any belief on you, but it's time to ask yourself a question, and I need you to be honest with yourself before you answer it. If you don't have faith in something bigger than yourself, why is that? And before you answer, understand what I mean by bigger. It doesn't have to be God. It doesn't have to be a religion. It doesn't have to be anything else anyone else told you to believe in. It could simply be faith in what you're working towards, faith in the vision you have for your life, faith in the work you are putting in quietly and consistently. So I ask you again, why don't you have it? Is it because life has knocked you down enough times that believing in anything else is foolish? Is it because you've been carrying everything alone for so long that you stopped believing anything was carrying you? Is it because you don't think what you're building is worth believing in? Sit with that, because that last one, that might be the most important question you ask yourself today. I'm not asking you to have all the answers right now. I'm just asking you to stop running from the questions. I'm not asking you to adopt my faith. I'm asking you to identify yours. So this week, sit with one question. What are you building towards that is bigger than yourself? Not what you're building, what is it for? Write it down. Say it out loud. Just make sure you know what it is. Because when the hard moment comes, and it will come, the answer is what's going to carry you. There will be moments in your life when discipline is no longer enough, when your plans stop making sense, when the outcome you wanted feels further away than ever. And in those moments, you will discover what you truly believe in. Some of you have had it and lost it. Some of you are still searching for it. Some of you don't know where to start. That's exactly why this conversation needed to happen. But here's what I need you to remember. Nobody can find it for you. Not me, not a book, not some other podcaster. What you have faith in, that is yours to discover. And when you find it, and you will, you must protect it, because that is what will carry you through everything discipline cannot. This is yin. If this resonated, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Not everyone, just someone who's ready. You can find Yin Worldwide Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And if you want to go deeper, visit our website at liveyin.com. That's www.liveyin.com. Subscribe if you're committed to the work. If not, that's fine too. This isn't for everyone. Remember, move with intention.